Yo, what's up guys, it's Frostee back for another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over all of the best rocket launcher rolls you'll need before Witch Queen. As some of you guys may know, rocket launchers are extremely powerful inside of Destiny 2 right now, especially with the Galahorn exotic rocket launcher turning. The Galahorn has a perk called Wolfpack rounds, which will actually buff your legendary rockets that are paired with it. So legendary rockets are going to be a big part of the meta going into Witch Queen as of right now. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over what rolls you'll want for different situations when going into Witch Queen. Without further ado, let's get into the god rolls. First off, I do want to go over a rocket that actually has a static roll. I'm sure most of you have heard about this rocket. It is called the Ascendancy. The Ascendancy is a spectacular legendary rocket launcher that anybody can get actually. It is the ritual weapon for the playlist activities. So you can either get it from Gambit, Crucible, or Strikes, and it will always have the exact same roll. That roll is Quick Launch, Impact Casing, and then you can choose between Impulse Amplifier, Ambitious Assassin, and then you can choose between Explosive Light and Chain Reaction. Now for raw damage, you'll definitely be wanting to use Impulse Amplifier and Explosive Light, and it is extremely powerful when paired with things like Galahorn. It's not bad as an add clear rocket launcher either with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction. However, at that point, you might as well use something like a grenade launcher instead of using up your heavy slot. So if you are not wanting to go grind some of these other god rolls from things like Master Vogue, Grand Masters, etc., you might as well just go get yourself a god roll Ascendancy. Now for the first rocket we're going over, we are going to go over the Hezen's Vengeance Timelost. There is a non-Timelost version as well that you can get just from doing normal Vault of Glass, but the Timelost version is better and it's from the Master Vault of Glass. So I recommend you go for the Timelost version, but the normal version will do just fine. Now in that first column, we're going to be looking for Hard Launch. This goes for all the rocket launchers today. Hard Launch gives us the most velocity. We will be wanting that in that first column. Now in that second column, we will be wanting Impact Casing. You get increased damage on direct hits, and this is actually a 5% flat damage buff. This is easily the best perk we have in the second column. Now in the third column, we have a few different rolls to go over, and I'm going to explain why different ones are good and for what situations they'll be good for. In that first column, things like Tracking Module are actually not terrible depending on the boss you're up against. Tracking isn't necessarily the best thing to get in slot here, but some bosses do move a lot, and tracking will actually help you hit all your shots instead of missing a few. The tracking is definitely more of a niche perk, but if you get it, definitely not bad at all. We also do have auto-loading holster on this, which is great if you're using this rocket to swap with other weapons like Izanagi's Burden potentially. Maybe you're using Wither Horde to increase your damage. So auto-loading holster is not a bad option either, but if you're solely using this rocket for your burst DPS, auto-loading is not going to be what you're looking for. In my opinion, the best perk we have on this rocket launcher in that first column for burst damage is going to be Overflow. When you pick up any type of special or heavy ammo, it is going to automatically reload your rocket, and it'll double the magazine up to 2. This is extremely good for burst damage, but like I said earlier, if you're swapping between another weapon, auto-loading will be better, and tracking might be better if you're up against a boss that moves a lot. So honestly, since you get 2 perks in both columns on this gun, I'd maybe save a few rolls. I'd maybe go for a tracking roll, an auto-loading, and an overflow roll, just to be safe, because we don't really know what we're up against yet when it comes to Witch Queen gameplay. So I would just go into it prepared. Now in the second column, we have a few good options as well. There is Vorpal, but Vorpal did just receive a nerf to heavy weapons where it now goes down to 10% damage, and I believe it was 20% damage before, so that's a pretty big nerf to Vorpal on heavy weapons. So honestly, Vorpal is not even worth using on this rocket in my opinion, but we do have a Lasting Impression, which is spectacular for sustained DPS with rockets. Definitely worth getting a roll. In my opinion, a great combo to have on this rocket is auto-loading holster and lasting impression. They pair very well together because you can shoot a rocket, it sticks to your target, and then you can switch to a different weapon, and that'll let auto-loading holster do its job and reload your gun for you. We also do have Demolitionist on this rocket, which at face value does not sound great, but for burst damage, it is actually a super solid perk to have because you can just throw a grenade after you shoot a rocket and it'll immediately reload your magazine. So things like Overflow, you can fire 2 rockets, throw a grenade. With Demolitionist, you'll instantly reload, fire a 3rd rocket, and on Hunter, with the top dodge, you can immediately dodge and reload for even a 4th rocket. So for burst DPS, Demolitionist is actually a super solid perk to have. The nice thing about getting the Timelost version as well is that you can put on mods like Adept Big One spec, which will increase your damage like a major spec and a boss spec. And finally for Masterwork, I would just look for reload. Unless you get an auto-loading roll, I would look for velocity. That does it for the Hezen's Vengeance Timelost. Next up, we are moving on to the Royal Entry. This is a rocket launcher that you attain just through doing strikes in the strike playlist. You can either do normal strikes and speedrun through them as fast as possible to try and get this, or you can hope for a lucky drop when doing Grandmaster Nightfalls. But if all you want is Royal Entry and you don't want other loot, you might as well go farm normal mode strikes. There's also a ghost mod called Prosperity Vanguard for only 3 energy that you can put on in the 4th column of your ghosts, and it will actually increase your drop chance of getting loot from strikes. So if you're going to go farm strikes, definitely make sure you have that mod on. Now, Royal Entry is going to be a rocket that has a few different god rolls as well. We are going to have a roll for sustained DPS as well as a roll for burst DPS. In my opinion, burst DPS is definitely what you want more with rocket launchers as of right now, because things like Reed's Regret and other linear fusions still do win for sustained damage. So keep that in mind. First column, again, we're going to be wanting hard launch. Second column, again, we'll be wanting impact casing for that flat 5% damage boost. In our third column, we unfortunately have a lot to choose from, which is going to make it harder to get your god roll of choice. But I'd say the best two here are field prep and autoloading holster. Field prep is going to give you increased ammo reserves as well as a faster reload speed if you're crouching. Even if you don't want to crouch while doing damage, you at least get your increased ammo reserves with field prep, which makes it great. Field prep is what I would go for in a burst DPS roll, and autoloading holster is what I would go for on a sustained DPS roll. Now in that fourth column, we do have a lot of options again, but for that burst DPS roll to pair with field prep, I'd be looking for things like Demolitionist and Clown Cartridge. Same thing as the last rocket, Demolitionist you can use to throw a grenade and instantly reload. With Clown Cartridge, when you reload your magazine, you'll instantly get a magazine size of 2. So for burst DPS, I would definitely go for field prep and Clown Cartridge so you can shoot off as many rockets as you can as fast as possible. This is going to be the best option for a burst DPS rocket launcher is this combo. However, Demolitionist is not bad at all either. Now for our sustained DPS roll, we are going to be looking for autoloading holster and lasting impression. Same thing as the Hezen's Vengeance, lasting impression is good for those longer damage phases where you know you're not going to be able to fire off all your rockets at once and you have time to use other weapons as well. And for our masterwork, same thing goes as the last rocket. On your field prep and Clown Cartridge roll, I would look for a reload masterwork, and on your auto loading and lasting roll, I would look for a velocity masterwork. Now moving on to the Hothead Adept. Same thing goes for Hezen's Vengeance. There is a normal version of this rocket that you can just get from doing the Nightfall playlist. However, we are going to want the Adept version for the increased stats as well as the availability to use Adept mods on it. And this is going to be dropped from Grandmaster Nightfalls. If you complete a Grandmaster Nightfall with a Platinum Champion modifier, meaning you killed every single champion in the strike, you'll get a 100% guaranteed drop of an Adept weapon. Now every week there are 2 Adept weapons that drop, and this week actually we do have Adept Hothead in the loot pool. So if you're watching this in the week of Tuesday the 18th, then the corrupted Grandmaster Nightfall is here, and the Hothead Adept is actually going to be dropping from that, and there's double Nightfall rewards. So if you're watching this video within the week that it came out, make sure to go farm corrupted Grandmaster Nightfalls. It is a harder Nightfall, but with the optimized loadouts, you can make it a lot easier. My buddy Above actually has a great guide on this Nightfall. I highly recommend you go watch it and make your life a lot easier. So now this rocket, in my opinion, only has rolls that you want for burst DPS. This is not going to be a rocket that you're going to be using for any sort of sustained DPS. So in that first column, same thing. We're going to be wanting hard launch. Second column, impact casing. Third column, we have a few options, and tracking module is one of them. And I believe tracking module will come on every single roll of the Adept Hothead. You shouldn't have to worry about that. And as I mentioned earlier, tracking is great if you're up against a boss that is moving a lot, because this can guarantee you hit every single rocket, even if you are losing out on some other nice perks. Now we do have field prep and demolitionist in this first column. As I mentioned earlier, field prep is great for giving more ammo and a faster reload while crouching. So this is going to be a great perk to pair for burst DPS, as well as we have demolitionist, which I've already explained. You can fire a rocket, throw a grenade, and fire another rocket immediately. So another great option for burst DPS. I would personally recommend getting a roll with both field prep and a separate old demolitionist, but if you happen to only get one or the other, you'll be totally fine. Now in that final column, we do have Vorpal, but as I mentioned earlier, that 10% damage nerf to Vorpal is going to make it honestly pretty useless in my opinion. So we're going to be wanting Clown Cartridge for that 2-size magazine for faster burst DPS, and Explosive Light is another solid option. But if you're using this rocket purely for burst DPS and you're trying to fire as many rockets as you can, the smallest amount of time, Clown Cartridge is what is going to allow you to do that. So if you're looking for purely the best burst damage roll, you're going to be wanting field prep and Clown Cartridge. For masterwork, I would look for a reload masterwork on this. And the nice thing is this is Adept, so you can use Adept Big One spec as well. That'll do it for our Adept Hothead. All right, that is all the god rolls we are covering today. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer. Or if you have a different roll that you like for a different situation, make sure to let me know because I'm always open to new ideas. Good luck on the grind. I hope you guys get all the rolls you're looking for before Witch Queen, as we are coming up last 30 days to it. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a subscription to the channel with notifications on if you would like to support me and the content that I create. I appreciate your time watching this whole video. Made it to the end. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace.